In just a few minutes, we'll uncover a chilling warning from a top Putin advisor about the Ukraine war's potential escalation. This urgent message is based on a recent video by Carlson.
While global events unfold rapidly, one threat overshadows all others. The world faces multiple crises, from potential strikes on Iran to the US possibly acquiring Greenland and the ongoing instability in Venezuela. Each carries significant downside risks, like regional collapse, economic shocks, or migrant crises. However, none of these compare to the escalating tensions in Eastern Europe.
Russia is reportedly considering using nuclear weapons against Europe, specifically targeting the UK and Germany. This isn't a hypothetical scenario, it's a stark warning from a highly influential figure.
Sergei Karaganov, a longtime political advisor to Vladimir Putin and a prominent Russian intellectual, stated unequivocally that if the Ukraine war continues at its current pace for another year or two, Russia will eliminate the UK and Germany with nuclear weapons.
Why isn't this terrifying declaration making headlines globally? Russia has publicly revised its nuclear strategy to include using nuclear weapons against countries acting as proxies for nuclear-armed powers. This means, under Russian law, Germany, despite not having nuclear weapons, is considered a legitimate target for a nuclear strike.
Furthermore, Russia recently sent hypersonic missiles into Kiev, a move described as a message. They explicitly stated that if pushed too far, the next hypersonic missile, which no country can defend against, could carry a nuclear warhead and be aimed at Europe.
But why would Russia threaten Europe over a conflict in Ukraine? According to the analysis, Russia views the Ukraine conflict not as a war against Ukraine, but as a proxy war against the West. They believe non-Ukrainians have been controlling Ukraine for decades, turning it into a puppet state with less sovereignty. Evidence for this external control is highlighted by a 10-year-old clip featuring George Soros and Chrystia Freeland. Freeland, then a journalist and now Canada's Deputy Prime Minister, openly acknowledged Soros's profound influence on Ukraine's leadership. She stated that everyone who I know in that group has been touched somehow by open society and by George Soros. This suggests that key figures in Ukraine's government were financially supported by the Hungarian billionaire, raising questions about their true allegiances.
The perceived outcome of this influence is the destruction and depopulation of Ukraine, allowing foreigners to acquire its vast natural resources, including some of the world's most fertile farmland. The true goal, it's argued, is to use Ukraine to weaken Russia.
This leads us to a critical misunderstanding of Russia's true power. Russia is an unimaginably vast country, larger than China and India combined, with immense natural resources. It possesses the deepest energy reserves, significant uranium, gold, silver, bauxite, and the world's largest timber reserves. This wealth has historically attracted invaders. After the fall of the Soviet Union, Russia was looted by foreign interests and unscrupulous oligarchs. Vladimir Putin, upon taking power, is credited with restoring order, curbing the oligarchs, and prioritizing national interests, transforming Russia into a significantly richer and more stable nation. Western leaders often dismiss Russia as merely a gas station with nuclear weapons. This dismissive attitude, however, reveals a dangerous ignorance and underestimation of Russia's power, resilience, and cultural depth, which could lead to severe miscalculations.
The West's actions, particularly sanctions, have had unintended and detrimental consequences.
The Biden administration's decision to kick Russia out of SWIFT and seize assets was a self-destructive act. It sabotaged the US dollar's status as the world's reserve currency, a privilege that underpins American wealth and power. Since February 2022, the price of gold has surged from approximately $1,700 to $4,600 per ounce. This dramatic increase reflects a global distrust in the US dollar, as countries like China dump treasuries and buy gold, signaling a shift away from the dollar. Another major blunder was driving Russia into a durable alliance with China. This combination of the world's largest economy and its largest resource-rich country creates a formidable bloc, posing a significant threat to US interests and the dollar's dominance. This alliance directly contradicts Richard Nixon's strategy 50 years ago, when he opened relations with China specifically to split it from Russia, understanding the existential threat a combined bloc would pose. Beyond policy missteps, Western rhetoric has reached dangerous levels. Senator Lindsey Graham openly called for Putin's assassination, asking if there was a Brutus in Russia to take this guy out. Such calls for extrajudicial murder of a head of state set a perilous precedent, undermining the rule of law and inviting chaos. The idea that removing Putin would solve Russia's problems is dismissed as naive. No leader has absolute control, and Russia's complex power structure means an assassination would likely lead to more chaos, not a peaceful resolution, potentially escalating global risks. Sergei Karaganov offers a scathing critique of Europe's current state.
He described European leaders as complete failures, morally, politically, and economically, lacking intellectual capacity. Europe, he argues, is in a deep crisis, unable to exploit the world as it once did, and is desperately clinging to power. Karaganov believes European elites are pushing for war to rationalize their continued existence and cover up their mistakes. He warns that if Russia were ever close to defeat, it would use nuclear weapons, physically ending Europe.
Shockingly, he claims European leaders no longer fear nuclear weapons, attributing this to an intellectual and moral degradation since the 1960s. They suffer from strategic parasitism, believing war will never reach their territory. Karaganov links this lack of fear to a loss of Europe's core moral, political, and spiritual values, including faith in God and respect for family and patriotism. He suggests Europe is becoming anti-human under its current leadership. Russia, meanwhile, is charting a new course, both strategically and culturally. Karaganov admits to criticizing Putin for being too cautious, advocating for earlier escalation. Russia has been lowering its nuclear threshold and building up its nuclear potential, hoping to deter further Western aggression before crossing the point of no return. Russia is actively embracing a Eurasian identity, moving away from its European journey. While cherishing European cultural heritage, they see themselves as an Asian empire with strong European influences, a shift they believe saves their soul. Paradoxically, Karaganov views Western sanctions as a blessing. While economically painful, they have strategically, politically, and culturally strengthened Russia by eliminating comprador elites and fostering a return to Russian culture and identity. What role can the United States play in this escalating conflict? Karaganov is skeptical of President Trump's peace offers, viewing them as not addressing the core problem of European hostility and aggression. He suggests that the US itself contributed to starting this war by fearing a Russia-Germany alliance. He warns that if European elites do not change their course, Russia will be forced to punish them, potentially with nuclear strikes, assuming the United States would refrain from participating in a nuclear war in Europe. This perspective from a top Kremlin advisor paints a grim picture of escalating tensions and a potential future where Europe faces unimaginable consequences if current policies persist. For a deeper understanding of these critical global dynamics, we encourage you to watch the full interview on the Tucker Carlson channel. The link to the full video is available in the description below.
Enjoying quick summaries like this and saving time? There's more coming, so hit that subscribe button.